What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the greatest combat sports and culture show in the entire universe, the Fight Podcast. I'm your host, SERG VICENTE, and this is episode 390 of the show. Happy New Year, Merry New Year, however you celebrate. I hope you guys had an amazing year. 2026 is going to be incredible. 2025 was intense, but I'm happy that we're here. Hope you guys brought it in well. And thank goodness, man, we are starting the year off with a bang. There's so many great fights coming up this year, not just in boxing, but MMA, pro wrestling, WWE, AEW got their thing going on, but we will get to all of that and so much more. But if you're watching live, thank you so much for watching live. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel, and let everybody know about the Fight Podcast. All right. Just keep you guys posted, man. This year, we're going to go ahead and do a lot of fight announcements this year. We are going to be breaking news. We're going to be working on a lot of different things in order to get the Fight Podcast and myself out there to the people a little bit more. You'll see us at all the major media days for boxing. And we're going to be doing everything we can to get into the UFC events as well. Check us out. Make sure you're doing everything you can to make that happen. All right. Let's go ahead and jump right on into it if we have an opportunity. First things first, man, January 31st. And I know we saw how the video was going ahead and actually titled, and it says Shakur will dominate Teofimo Lopez. And I know a lot of people look at that and say I'm being, I'm just trying to get a rise out of people, or I'm sitting there and people are looking at it in terms of, oh, he's being a little hyperbolic so that he can go out there and just, get clicks. I'm gonna keep it a bean with you guys. Yeah, obviously it's a strategy to go ahead and put something that's gonna grab y'all attention. But to keep it a bean, I think Shakur's gonna whoop Teal's ass. I honestly, the more I look at this fight and the more I go out there and guys, I watch film, I study. I went out there and I'm looking at the film and I'm watching these athletes. And the more and more I look at it, we're looking at two guys that are honestly fantastic. I'm not throwing shade at Teofimo because I believe that Shakur Stevenson is going to win. But there's a couple factors in that. I always go for the most skilled fighter that there is. So I'm always going to go ahead and pick, because honestly, it's bit me in the ass before. If I sit there, because I'll get emotional about something and I'm like, this guy is, he's tougher, he's stronger, but the other guy is a far more skillful guy. Well, 9 out of 10 times, the more skillful fighter actually goes out there and wins the match. If we're looking at Shakur and Teofimo, and look, we can sit there and say that, oh man, Teofimo, and this is some of the arguments that I've heard. Look at what he did against Lomachenko. And I do look at what he did against Lomachenko. And what he did against Lomachenko was benefit from somebody sitting here not throwing punches for 6 rounds, getting his ass kicked for 5 rounds, and then thank God for him, he won the last round. That's actually what happened if we really want to talk about what happened between Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. And then I go back into some of the other fights because we're looking at style. Because again, it could have been a stylistic thing, right? So if we're looking at styles and things that are stylistic, he does not do well against athletes that actually have any type of movement. No, I'm not talking about runners. I'm talking about individuals that actually can go out there and have fantastic lateral movement. Look at Jermaine Ortiz. Jermaine Ortiz was actually going to be the co-main event of the event of Ring 6. He's going to be against Keyshawn Davis. I cannot wait for that fight. That fight should be absolutely amazing. But when we're looking at that, that is a guy, if you go back and watch that fight, I've watched it 3 times this past weekend. Yo, Jermaine Ortiz absolutely won that fight. Another thing, if we're looking at it, Teofimo Lopez, Sandor Martin was another one. He went out there, another mobile fighter, was teeing off on him, and Teofimo almost was at the point, he said, I don't know if I got it anymore. Am I cooked? Is it done? And he started looking at things in that way. And again, stylistically, those individuals don't do a good job. He really struggles when he has those type of fighters. So let's go ahead and add to Shakur Stevenson's, we're already looking at his resume. I also look at who they have in their corner. If you get the chance to spar consistently with somebody like Terrence Crawford, yo, I'm going to keep it a buck. You get to spar with them, and thank God for Trump, and I don't believe so. Damon, thank you so much for the subscription to the sub, man. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Everybody, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching, guys. All right, but again, with he's trains. Not only is he training with the GOAT, or again Mount Rushmore type in terms of Terrence Crawford. He also has Keyshawn Davis. He has Ray Ford. I mean, he is in there training with some absolute killers. And when you're training with the best guys out there, the confidence that you have, and not saying that Teo's not going to go out there and really, prepare himself the way, because anytime Teo goes out there with a guy that's actually worth his weight, he comes prepared. With all that being said, I'm going to keep it a bean with y'all. And mark my words, I don't care if you timestamp this or anything. Don't be surprised if Shakur Stevenson stops Teofimo Lopez, and he might do it to the body. Teofimo Lopez gets hit a lot when he's competing. We can see him get whacked on that one 1,000%. I can see that happening. But regardless, I see a dominant win. I'm going, if we're looking at it rounds-wise, man, I can see 8-4, 9-3. I can see that type of ass whooping. Shakur Stevenson will absolutely dominate Teofimo Lopez. All right, moving right along, let's keep it with boxing. Just announced today, the worst kept secret in boxing is Mario Barrios won the WBC welterweight champion, 147 pounds, will be defending his title against Ryan Garcia. Yes, that Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia, the guy who lost his last fight in a terrible fight against Rolly Romero, is, being gifted a title shot and a title opportunity. The head of the WBC, I'm blanking on his name right now. I've met the gentleman before. We've had conversation. He's really nice to me. But I'm going to be honest with you. Ever since Canelo Alvarez lost his title to Terrence Bud Crawford, he has been wanting his cash cow Mexican to go out there and actually get that title back. And that's why, even though Mario Barrios is Mexican, I think those guys at WBC want star power. So they're trying to force the issue, and they're hoping and they're hopeful that Ryan Garcia wins. And it's interesting. I'm hearing so many individuals going out there and saying how this is going to be a wash. Ryan Garcia, left hook all day. He going to get him out of there. Again, I would be honest, do not be surprised if Mario Barrios wins this fight. Look at Mario Barrios' resume. He's tough. He's super tough. And yeah, he had a bad fight against Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, who is somebody who he revered, he looked up to, he didn't perform well. But he was performing well against Tank Davis before he got caught. He's been in there with the best of the best, Keith Thurman and other guys like that. Do not be surprised if Mario Barrios goes out here and not only wins the fight, he wins in dominant fashion. If you can get beat by somebody like Rolly Romero, no shade, he's a champion also at 147, you can absolutely beat Ryan Garcia as well. I see that happening. All right. Let's stick with boxing. Moving right along. Yo, what's going on with Virgil Ortiz versus Boots Ennis? Oscar De La Hoya, head of Golden Boy, goes out there this week and states that we're moving on. There's more fish in the sea. He's not the only one, the girl at the dance, whatever you want to say it. He said that Boots ain't the dude. We don't need Boots. And he also said that he's the A side of that event. If there's ever been a 50-50 fight in boxing in the last 10 years, Virgil Ortiz versus Boots Ennis is that 50-50 fight. It is a fight where both guys have been dominant. They're both undefeated, and they both passed the eyeball test. Virgil Ortiz has had a better competition that he's been in there with. Boots Ennis has looked more spectacular. But we don't know who's going to win. Again, for me, 50-50, 55-45 type of fight. They should split the purse. But Oscar De La Hoya, I'm going to keep it a buck. Oscar's scared as shit. Oscar don't want this fight. And honestly, Virgil Ortiz, if you hear this, you need to get rid of Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya, as your promoter, doesn't believe in you. He doesn't believe in you, and he thinks you're going to get your ass whooped by Boots Ennis. And guess what? At this moment in time, I do too. Because if your team is that enthusiastic in this fight not happening, that means y'all know something that we don't. And that tells me that your team thinks you're going to get your ass whooped. So if that is not the case, and I see your manager popped back at Oscar and said, hey, we ain't going to talk to him, Y'all need to talk to me because me and Virgil want this fight. This is the fight that needs to happen. I don't want to see Errol Spence. I ain't seen Errol Spence fight since shit, what, 2020? What, 2022 when he got his ass whooped by Bud? I do not need to see him fight next at Dallas Cowboys Stadium. I need to see Virgil Ortiz versus Vicente. That's the fight. All right. Remember, like, share, and subscribe to this video, man. Sub to the channel. Thank you guys so much. We keep the party going. All right. Let's move on to you know what? Let me do this. Fights that I want to see in 2026. There are boxing, MMA, everything. There's going to be some fantastic matchups in 2026. A couple of them that I definitely want to see. I want to see Artur Beterbiev against the Mexican monster, David Benavidez. I think that would be an absolute amazing fight. I also want to see another fight that I think a lot of people, pound for pound wise type of fight. Bam Rodriguez versus the winner of Inoue Inoue and Junto Nakatani. I cannot wait for those fights because those guys at between 115 and 126, oh my God. If you have not had the opportunity to watch them yet, do yourselves a favor and check those guys out, man. Incredible action. And a lot of people are shitting on Junto Nakatani for his last matchup. I'll be honest with you. When you that's what happens at the lower weight classes. There's guys out there that, I'll be honest with you, you don't know. You don't know because they all fight at 115 pounds and there's no money in that. So the powers that be aren't going out there and advertising and telling us how dope some of these dudes are. That's how we can have Chocolatito and Estrada and all those guys have a whole last career and the majority of fans don't know who the hell these legends are. We absolutely, with Estrada and Chocolatito and the rest of those boys, all that Bam whooped except for Chocolatito. Let me talk about that. But we can literally sit there and call them the four kings of their era as well. They were that good. These lower weight classes are solid. Y'all need to check them out. Those are some of the fights I'm looking forward to. All right, moving right along into MMA. I got to mention this. One of my all-time favorites. He's come to hard times. Former middleweight champion, two-time middleweight champion, Israel Adesanya is making his way back. He's fighting against Joe PYFER. This will be on March 28th. This will be UFC Seattle. Oh, by the way, Mario Barrios, Ryan Garcia. That's actually going to be February 21st. Don't miss that one. All right. The Joe PYFER Adesanya fight, Seattle, March 28th. Look, Joe PYFER is one of those guys that, if we really look at it in a few years ago, that would have been an ass whooping real quick. Nobody cares about it for Adesanya. I still believe that to be true. He needed this break. Salute to Adesanya. All right, before we get up out of here, I got to talk about this. The UFC, actually, Lorosenko, who I have no problem with. I think Lorosenko is fantastic. But Lorosenko of the UFC goes out there and states that the UFC is going to continue with cutting, quote-unquote, boring fighters, right? The fuck is a boring fight? Yo, these fools want you to get CTE for free. They do not want to pay these fighters. So they're literally incentivizing. You know what? I'm going to say it right here. The UFC is no longer a sport in the traditional sense. The UFC and TKO is an organization that builds up sports entertainment like the WWE, because all they want to do and slap fighting, right? That's all this is. If we're actually doing a sport, and this is why I love Shakur. He doesn't care if it's ugly. He doesn't care if it's good. As long as he wins, that's all that matters. Okay, and that's how most fighters should actually look at it. I'm here to get the bag and win, and I understand it is entertainment, but when it boils down to it, what they want you to do essentially is leave your fight IQ at the door, come over here and get this CTE for 10 and 10. That's what these fools want. 10,000 to show, 10,000 to win. That's what that means. And that's what the UFC does. And that's a lot of the contracts that the UFC has. 10 and 10, 20 and 20, 50 and 50. They're paying these people pennies on the dollar while they're enriching themselves. It is very, very Trumpian in the way that they do it. And honestly, it's one of the reasons that has really disgusted me in the way that they treat individuals in the UFC. But we will talk about that and more, so much more, man. But with that being said, that's about all the time we have. Thank you all for joining me on this episode 390 of the Fight Podcast. Like, share, and subscribe. Let everybody know about the best show in all of pro wrestling sports entertainment. Also, follow my Substack, the Fight Podcast Substack, and so much more. Love y'all. I'll see you next time right here on the Fight Podcast. Peace.